Cuentos del Abuelito. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. On this occasion, I'll be narrating the very famous story of Maria Angula. It's a very famous Ecuadorian folklore. Thank you for being patient, and remember, if you like the stories, leave a like and a comment for support and all that type of thing. Maria Angula was the daughter of a landowner in the city of Cayambe in Ecuador. She was a fun and cheerful girl with a very animated spirit. Although she had a fun personality, Maria was very ignorant and proud, with a bad habit of gossiping and spreading rumors about others. She spent most of her time planning her mischievous ideas that would always end up making a mess among people, such as breaking the friendship between two good friends. For the first 16 years of her life, Maria would fumble around with people's lives and never concentrated on her own. She never learned how to cook or how to live in an organized manner, and thus became a very messy girl with extremely bad habits. Eventually, Maria fell in love with a simple and hard-working man named Manuel. Despite her bad habits, Manuel fell in love with her bright spirit and married her. This was when her problems began. You see, Manuel loved to eat a good home-cooked meal and would ask his wife to always cook for him after a long day of hard work. Maria was in deep trouble. She never learned how to cook and hardly knew how to even boil water. In her distress, Maria sought help from her neighbor, a woman named Doña Mercedes, who was a good woman and a very good cook. One day, Manuel asked Maria to prepare a dish which included bread soup with truffles so that he could eat after coming back home. Not thinking twice, Maria rushed to her neighbor, asking Doña to teach her the recipe. Doña taught Maria patiently, explaining step by step, but instead of being grateful and admitting her ignorance, Maria exclaimed that it was indeed a simple recipe, which she knew all along, and only asked because she wanted to make sure her recipe was correct. Maria rushed back home and prepared the meal, which her husband gratefully ate, showering Maria with comments on her great cooking skills. This continued for some time. Manuel would ask his wife to prepare him a meal, and Maria would rush to her neighbor to ask for the recipe. But instead of being grateful, she would always pride about herself knowing the recipe and rushed back home without even thanking Doña. Doña, being the good woman that she was, didn't take it too hard the first few times. But as it kept repeating, she grew tired of Maria's ignorance and decided to teach her a lesson. One day, as usual, Manuel asked Maria to make him a tasty meal, which included a meat broth by Pazun, the town specialty, the guts of a goat. After Manuel left for work, Maria rushed to her neighbor's house to ask for the recipe. Doña at this time was decided to teach Maria a lesson and told her that the recipe was very simple, but obtaining the Pazun for the broth was very difficult. Doña suggested Maria to enter the cemetery at night and dig out the coffin of a newly buried corpse and take out the guts from the body. She exclaimed that these guts would taste better than the guts of a goat and that her husband would love the meal. Maria didn't think twice and in her usual tone declared that she knew the recipe already and rushed back home. That evening, coincidentally, there was a funeral, and happy at the news, Maria grabbed a kitchen knife and crept her way to the local cemetery, hiding behind a tombstone, waiting for the locals to finish burying the new body. When nobody was in sight, Maria dug the grave and reached down below to where the coffin rested. Slipping her fingers to the edge of the coffin, she pried the lid open and stared down at the body. In her horror, Maria felt paralyzed on the spot, her body turning cold as she looked at the ghostly corpse. All she wanted to do was to turn back and run away from the grave as fast as she could, but thinking of Manuel, she focused her attention on the body. Taking a deep breath, Maria plunged her knife deep into the corpse's gut, cutting out the stomach and pulling it out, and afterwards ran back to her house without turning back. After catching her breath and dismissing the horrible deed from her thoughts, Maria started preparing the meal before her husband arrived. That night, Manuel ate the meat broth, not suspecting a thing, and was proud of his wife's cooking skills, showering her with comments. Maria once again got what she wanted, but what she didn't know was that she had a price to pay for her dreadful actions. That night, Maria and Manuel went to bed after having their meat broth dinner. The night was eerie, with the wind howling in the distance. The house creaked all around, and outside Maria's room, dead tree branches tapped continuously at the windows. Suddenly, Maria awoke with a start, sitting up in her bed, her breath catching in her throat. As she listened hard in the distance, a pitiful howl rang through her ears, slowly getting louder and louder as she listened, petrified at the daunting sounds. All of a sudden downstairs, Maria heard her front door creak open, followed by dual footsteps climbing their way towards her bedroom door. Maria was paralyzed by fear. She wanted to scream and shout for help, but all she could do was stare at her closed bedroom door as the footsteps drew closer and closer until it was right in front of her door. Then there was just silence. Maria trembled, her body shaking with fear. The silence seemed to stretch for an eternity, while all she could do was sit there on her bed and stare. Then a blood-curdling scream emerged as the door flew open in an instant. There, out in the hallway, stood a ghostly appearance, a bony appearance, and the gaping mouth, blood dripping from its hollow stomach. Looking directly at the pale and horrified Maria, it stepped closer.
Maria Angula, give me my guts back you stole from me.
Maria, shaking in fear, hid behind her covers, but not for long. Bony fingers wrapped around her leg and dragged her out. Maria clutched at her bedsheets, trying in vain to scream and awaken her sleeping husband, who was deep in his sleep, not aware of anything. The ghost clamped Maria's mouth shut and yanked her out of bed, hauling her out into the hallway, down the stairs, and outside her house, towards the darkness of the deep forest, where she disappeared.
Forever.